Namah Shivaya.
Om Sadashivasamarambham Acharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. So we were on the 23rd sloka of the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which we had not completed. So we'll just chant that sloka again. Sloka number 23. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri
Bhagavan
Bhagavan
Uvacha
Evam Vetti Purusham
Evam
Evam Vetti Purusham
Prakritim Cha Gunai Saha
Prakritim Cha Gunai Saha
Sarvatha Vartamanopi
Sarvata Vartamanopi
Sabhuyo Bhijayate.
Nasa Bhuyo Bhijayate.
I'm just muting you all. So we said that. So evam, yah evam vetti purusham and prakritim cha gunaihi saha. The one who knows purusham in this manner. In which manner? In the, as described in the first 22 month slokas. And not only does he know purusham, he knows prakriti also, and he knows the gunas of prakriti also. So such a person, if he says, Sarvatha Vartamanopi, in whatever way he lives, right? It doesn't matter what is his way of life. Na sah bhuyo vijayate. That person again does not have rebirth. Why does he not have rebirth? Because he has understood that he is the Atma. The Atma has no birth and no rebirth. Obviously, one who does not have birth cannot have rebirth. And therefore, he has no rebirth. Bhuyo na abhijayate is not born again. Right? And here again, a very important idea is being conveyed that you are Brahman, you are Atma. Right? And this question of being a Jivan Muktaha, being a Videha Muktaha, being liberated while you're in the body, and then later on being completely liberated without the body. These are all ideas for junior students, for beginners. Because as the Atma, where is the question of your getting liberated? As the Atma, as Brahman, you've always been liberated. Where is the question of your getting liberated? And as Brahman, as Atma, the entire universe is born in you, is sustained in you, and dies in you. Therefore, why should you be concerned about how many times the universe is born, how many times it is sustained, how many times it is destroyed? Why should you bother about the infinite number of bodies which are coming together and which are being separated again during every cycle of Srishti and Sthiti and Laya? You don't care because you are the Purushaha. I don't have the first birth itself. Where is the question of Punarjan? And this knowledge, this wisdom is called moksha. Remember that this wisdom does not grant you liberation. Through this wisdom, you don't, in inverted commas, get liberated. Through this wisdom, what happens? You know that you were liberated, you are liberated, you will ever be liberated, you know that it is not capable of, the world is not capable of binding you because the world is dependent upon you. This much we saw last time. And now, an important part of the discussion is based on the Shankara Bhashyam on this particular verse. Very profound Bhashyam. So I'll just give you a brief outline without entering into the Sanskrit. Okay. So Shankara says here, it starts talking about karma, right? And if you remember Tattva had a entire section on karma, of the jnani and all that, right? That entire section of Tattva is based on this discussion, this bhashyam on this verse. So Purvapakshi, the opponent, he raises a question. He says that, oh, Shankara, you say that jnani will not be reborn. Why do you say that? Because Sanchita is destroyed by jnana. At the same time, you say that prarabdha is continuing. That's what we say, right? What happens when a jnani gets jivan mukta? His sanchita is destroyed, and therefore he will not have rebirth. And why do you continue to live? Why does your body continue to live for some more time? Because prarabdha is continuing. That is the argument that the Vedantin gives. Okay. And now this Purva Pakshi, this person who is objecting, he gives a profound argument. He says, what is the source of Sanchita? How is Sanchita born?
From
What
Agami only. I mean, when we do
does not
some karma, when we do some action, then that generates the karma phalam, and that is stored because all the things are not fructified at that
fair enough.
moment only.
How is Agami born?
From the present karma,
From free will actions.
No. One second. You are saying Sanchita is a storehouse because of present Agami, which is not fully utilized. That's what you're saying, right? I am saying, what is the source of Agami?
Present karma.
present action.
I can't hear the person who's saying that because its voice is breaking.
Present action, Acharya.
Sorry?
Present action.
Yeah, okay. But I am asking you, where is that present action born from? What is the source?
Yeah.
Vasanas.
Ragadvesha.
Because of
Ragadvesha.
Tekarta.
So you need to, whenever these
Desire.
questions come, exactly, you need to get back into the entire, what they call sequence. We have seen the entire sequence. What is the sequence from which samsara starts? There is ajnanam. Ajnanam of what? Of the fact that I am Purna. The ajnanam of the fact that I am Purna. What is born from that? The desire to be Purna. What is born from the desire to be Purna? The karma to be done to become Purna.
Papam.
When karma is done, karma phalam is born. When karma phalam is born, then that karma phalam translates into various types of karma. So this sequence you must remember. Therefore, what is the source for Sanjita?
Not knowing that I am full.
Which is called what?
Ajnana.
Ajnanam. So source Sanjita is Ajnanam. Remember that Prarabdha is coming out of Sanchita. Prarabdha is the Arabdha karma of Sanchita, which means that part of Sanchita which is now giving fruit is called Prarabdha. So Prarabdha should also have the same source, Ajnanam. Yes.
Yes. In the past.
So this is what Purvapakshi says, that both Sanchita and Prarabdha are born from Ajnanam. How can you say that Jnanam destroys only Sanchita and not Prarabdha? It is like saying that I am putting one white paper and one pink paper, both are paper, into the fire. But I am saying that the fire will destroy only white paper, not pink paper. Both paper, white or pink, the source is what? Wood alone. Wood is destroyed by fire. Therefore, fire will destroy both white and pink paper. By that analogy, Sanchita is born from Ajnanam. Prarabdha is born from Ajnanam. Therefore, how can you take the argument that Jnanam will destroy only Sanchita and not Prarabdha? This is the argument. And if you say that Jnanam does not destroy Prarabdha, then you have no other option but to say that because of the argument which I have used, Jnanam destroys the very source. And therefore, if you say Jnanam does not destroy Prarabdha, then you have to accept that Jnanam does not destroy Sanchita also.
Sanchita too.
What is the now this is a very logical argument. Can you think of any logic through which you can disprove this?
Yeah, so the source is same, but the fire are, I mean, this Sanchita and the Prarabdha are in two different places. Considering that, maybe because
Anybody
it has
else?
come.
Acharya ji, the prarabdha karma for that body has already begun. So,
So what? The source is still the same.
Future new karma will not be made, so he will exhaust the backlog.
I would like you all to try because this is going to illustrate a very important point. And therefore, I would like as many people to try to answer this question.
Is it
Why do you say, yes, go ahead, Nagaraj.
Acharya, is it because of the karma phaladata?
Phaladata is bound by the laws of karma. He cannot selectively impose anything.
When we are born with Sthula and Sukshma Sharira, and they are Bhoga Ayatanas. And because you are continuing with the body, that Bhoga means the Sukha Dukkha, all those things you have to finish off.
Okay. Anybody else?
Sir, can we go backwards and say that if it meant that at Jnanam Prarabdha is destroyed, like Sanchita, there is no explanation, then that means the body should drop at Jnanam.
Yes. Yes.
Then in that case, how do we explain? We have Jnanis, we have enlightened people who teach, who go forward. Can we? I mean, I'm just.
You still haven't told me why Jnanam cannot destroy Prarabdha.
So, Acharya, my answer is same again. It's in two places. One is in Sukshma Sharira and one is in the present physical body.
Prarabdha is very much in a supershariram also. The manifestation is in the physical body. That is all. Karma is always carried in the Sukshma Sharira.
But we have got the physical body based on Prarabdha only. So it has got certain properties from the Prarabdha only. So if now the Prarabdha.
I want to know whether, yes, Khush, you want to say something?
Acharya Sanchita is a bundle of karma which is there. The Jnani doesn't claim it anymore, saying that he's Akarta, so Sanchita is taken care of. However, Prarabdha is what he's actually living now, which is already in the present. So I remember SPG saying that once you switch off the fan will continue to go. However, there won't be any karma as a karta. There won't be any kartritvam. So naturally, over the period of time, the body will drop. But till the body is there, the prarabdha has to continue. But the jnani doesn't claim it as his karma.
Good effort by all of you all. Do you see anything common in this, in your efforts?
Acharya, may I try one more time?
Yes, John, please go ahead.
Is it because jnanam and karma are in different orders of reality?
No.
No.
The thing is, you are all trying to use logic to
Correct.
prove that
Purva-Pakshi is right.
Jnanam cannot destroy Prarabdha. Where is it said that Jnanam cannot destroy Prarabdha? It is Shastram alone which points out. Remember that karma and karma phalam is not a topic of logic. It is a apaurisheya vishaya. It is mentioned only in the scriptures. Therefore, when you say that Jnanam does not destroy Prarabdha, that is scriptural statement. How do you know that Jnanam destroys Sanchita? Because scripture says so. And when scripture says so, Jnanam destroys Sanchita, you accept. But when scripture says Jnanam does not destroy Prarabdha, why don't you accept? You can't use logic in one place and scriptural authority in another place. It is like trying to say use a half an egg to make a boiled egg and use the other half to get a chicken. The base has to be the same. You cannot use logic in any field where Shastram is the primary conveyor of knowledge. You can use logic as a supporting logic. You cannot use logic to reveal either the existence of Sanchita karma or Prarabdha karma or the destruction of Sanchita karma and Prarabdha karma. So that's what Shankara says. That he says, O Purvapakshi, you cannot use logic. Because logic is not a pramanam for karma and karma phalam. Right? Is logic a pramanam for karma and karma phalam? No. I hope you all agree with me on that.
Yes.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Therefore, Shankara says, look at the Gita itself. Yataithamsi samiddho agnihi bhasmasat kurute arjuna jnanagni sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute tatha. Where does it come?
Bhagavad Gita, chapter
Chapter 4,
4, Karma Yoga.
Sloka number 37. Okay. What does it say? Jnana agnihi sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute. Right? Jnanam, the Jnana Agni, the Jnanam, sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute. Reduces all karma. Sarva karmani to ashes. Okay. Sarvam means what? All. And therefore, Shruti Sammartha Tarka it's called. Logic can be used not to question the words of Shastram, but to understand. For example, if I ask you, logically prove that the fire is hot, can you use logic to explain that? What is the only way to know
We
whether
can
fire is hot or not?
put your
Experience.
finger or
Experience.
Pratyaksham.
experience it.
It's called pratyaksham in our language. So pratyaksham, perception reveals to you. Perception in the sense that because you put your hand in the finger in the fire and you feel the heat, right? It's perception only. So your sense organs reveal to you. And therefore logic cannot be used to what you call ascertain that the fire is hot. But logic can be used to ascertain why the fire is hot. You see the difference?
Yeah, from the outcome, we know that fire is hot.
Right. So logic can be used to explain that fire, why the fire is hot. The reasons for the fire being hot is the field of logic. But whether fire is hot or not, it is not the field of logic. And Shankara quotes a very beautiful verse from Mahabharata. Okay, in case anybody is interested, it is Mahabharata chapter 12, verse number 204. Okay. Now there are different versions of Mahabharata. So this is I got this verse from, there's a online edition in Bombay Indology. So it's an online version. If you look for Bombay Indology, there's an online version of Mahabharata. It's there. This is a particular verse number, but verse numbers can differ from place to place. So I'm just quoting. So he says, Bijanya Agni Utpadagdhani. The seeds, Bijam, Bijani, the seeds, Agni Upadagdhani, which are roasted in Agni, which are roasted in fire, Na Rohanti Punaha again. So Rohanti means will not sprout again. So he said seeds which are roasted in fire will not sprout again. And similarly, Tatha Jnana Dagdha Atma, the Jivatma who has been roasted in Jnana Agni. How is the Jivatma roasted in Jnana Agni? By coming for several years of Vedanta class. By sitting in Vedanta class year after year, he gets roasted. And for that Jivatma, Kleshaihi na sampadhyate punaha. The kleshas are not born again. The defects which cause you to be born again, they vanish. Therefore, the Jivatma is not born again. Okay, this is Shankara quotes this. This is how he answers the Purvapakshi. And Purvapakshi says, fine. That means, however, he says that all karmas done after jnanam do not produce any fruit. Because all karmas, because you say that the person who has been roasted in jnana, what has happened to him? The roasted Jivatma has become a jnani. And therefore, just like the seed does not sprout after it is roasted, the karma done by the jnani after he is roasted does not produce any fruit. What is the name of that karma?
Agami.
Agami karma. So Purvapakshi is saying that it's okay what you are saying, Shankaracharya, but what you have quoted, that quote itself means that the agami karma of a jnani does not produce any fruit, but there are already karmas existing, sanchita and prarabdha. They are not roasted by fire. Why? Because they were done before the jnana agni came in. Right? And therefore, you can't say that I can give retrospective effect to the roasting. You can't roast Rama retrospectively. What is the argument which Shankara uses? We have just seen the argument. Shankara says, again you are applying logic to a topic where you should be guided by Shastra Pramana. It is like using logic to decide whether fire is hot or not. You can't do that. You have to use Pratyaksha Pramanam. And when Krishna has clearly said, Sarva Karmani, in that particular verse number 37 from chapter 4, Jnanagni Sarva Karmani Bhasmasat Kurute. Right? It means there is no Sanchita, no rebirth. Purvapakshi doesn't give up. He says, no, no, no. Your interpretation of Sarva Karmani is not correct. It is not all Sanchita. Sarva Karmani, Krishna actually meant to say Sarva Agami Karmani. When Krishna said Sarva Karmani, Krishna meant Sarva Agami Karmani. Since you cannot refer it to Sanchitta, since Jnanam was not there when Sanchit Karma was being done, when the fire itself was not there, how can you say Sanchita Karma is roasted? It's like saying because I'm roasting some seeds in my tawa, all the seeds in the warehouse are also roasted. So this is the Purvapakshi's interpretation. Shankara says, again, there is no logic you are giving to restrict the meaning of Sarvam to Agami. Agami and Sanchita are born from Ajnanam only. Therefore, Sarvam includes Agami and Sanchita. Okay. Now what? If you're following the argument, what should
Acharya ji?
Purvapakshi say?
So why I'm not taking Sarva Karmani as 3 types of karmas? I mean,
Exactly. So Prabhupada should say, you said Sarvam cannot be restricted. Why are you restricting to Agami and Sanchita only? You can extend to Prarabdha also. You should not apply your argument selectively. Now comes the argument which you gave. What is the argument you gave?
that
Manmohan?
Prarabdha. Yeah, that Prarabdha is already in action, and because body is not dropping at that moment, body has got its property in the during the birth only.
Yes. So Shankara says here that I am not using the argument selectively. You cannot put apples and grapes into one category. Sanchita and Agami fall into one category. Prarabdha falls into another category. What are the categories? Non-fructifying category and fructifying category. Sanchita and Agami have not started giving fruits. Prarabdha has started giving fruits. Therefore, these two have to be treated separately. And Shankara gives the example of an arrow released from a bow. He says that when an arrow is released from the bow, even when the cause of the arrow, what is the cause of the arrow? The bow. Even when the bow has been put away, that arrow will still run its course. Right? So the karanam for the arrow does not impact the course of the arrow. It will still continue in the direction in which it has been shot. Not only that, even if the arrow fulfills its target, its purpose by piercing the target, right? The arrow is a powerful arrow, let us say. We have shot it at a particular target. If it has pierced the target and emerged, even though the target has been pierced, the arrow might still carry on for some more time. When will the arrow stop? Only when the momentum is exhausted. Similarly, he says, the jnani's prarabdha has served the purpose. Right? The first analogy is what? The karanam is withdrawn. So, Sanchita karma has been destroyed. That is the example we are giving. The bow is withdrawn, but the arrow still continues to move. The bow was the cause for the arrow to move. What is the cause for the prarabdha? The Sanchita. The Sanchita has been destroyed by Jnanam. It's no longer available. But just as the bow continues to move, the prarabdha also continues to be in momentum. Right? And the prarabdha, second example is what? The arrow has pierced the target, but still is moving because it has come out of the target. What is the example here? The jnani's prarabdha has served its purpose. What was the purpose of the prarabdha?
Jnanam.
Jnana.
To bring him to
Confer,
Jnana.
to give him jnana. It has given him jnanam, but the prarabdha is still powerful enough to keep on moving. It will stop only when it is exhausted. What was the purpose of saying that prarabdha is what gave jnanam? How do you say that?
Because this is the only human life is the only what called birth
You
where
can take it as that
jnanam
way,
can
but
be.
not all humans come to jnanam. So
Ishvara
prarabdha
Anugraha.
has given you human life. It has given you the free will necessary to come to jnanam. The necessary punyam has been there. The necessary free will to use the punyam has been there. You have come to jnanam. You have sustained the course. You have got jnanam. This you should not forget. So this is the example which Shankara gives. Of course, on a side note, I'll add that these discussions are not relevant for a senior Vedantic student. Why?
Because we have
Yeah,
moved
already
from
said Nitya
Because
Mukta.
Yeah.
you are not the body. You are not Ahankara at all.
Yeah.
Therefore, any karma relationship, karma discussion is not relevant for a senior student. But for a junior student, moksha is defined as freedom from karma and rebirth. For us, for senior students, moksha is defined as nitya mukti. I was never born. Where is the question of my rebirth? For a junior student, there is jivan mukti, there is videha mukti. But for a senior student, there is no relevance for jivan mukti or videha mukti. There is only nitya mukti. And therefore, the entire discussion of the Jnani's karma in Tattva Bodha is based on this part of the Bhashya. It's a very important part of the Bhashya. Any questions?
Acharya, I read somewhere,
Yeah.
can't remember where exactly, is once a jnani gets Jivan Mukti, all the karma that he does, both Punya karma as well as Papa karma, they go to the people who either worship him, pray to him, or blame him or abuse him. I can't remember exactly where I read it.
Tattva
Yes,
Bodha.
I do.
It's written in Tattva Bodha.
It is Tattva Bodha.
Yeah.
It's all part of Tattva Bodha.
Shuni chaiva
But
swapake.
remember one thing, it's all glorification.
And Acharya what I remember, I don't know it's correct from your teaching only, it said when Atma is a karta, a bhokta, there is no prarabdha also when we consider this, like no karma was ever done. And is it a correct understanding?
Yes, because there are two aspects of viewing this whole situation. One is from the Vyavaharika situation as a jiva, as a person who has got a body mind sense complex, as a junior student. As a junior student, all these are relevant because you talk about karma, you talk about karma phalam, you talk about with jivan mukti, you talk about videha mukti. These are from the junior student's viewpoint. But once you come to a particular state, when you shed this thing and say that, okay, fine, where is the question of any karma at all? Because I am Brahman. The bodies may be doing lots of karma. So as long as this idea is not crystal clear in your mind, you still have an attachment to the body-mind complex. And you have to work on that. You have to use the body-mind complex. But whenever you use, at the back of your mind, you must have a running commentary. This is not me. I am using this system for transactions in this world. But ultimately, the system exists in me. The world itself exists in me. That running commentary should always be there. Only when that becomes, without effort, effortlessly remember that, then Vedanta is really beginning to take effect. Okay. So let us look at the
Can
next.
I ask a question about,
Yes, Shraddha Boli.
if I can ask a question about Jnani?
Yeah.
If Jnani, I mean, I'm not being cynical here, but if a Jnani does a bad karma, papam,
Mhm.
is it possible? And
No.
will it have consequences?
No. What is a jnani? What is the definition of jnani?
Akarta. He will become Akarta.
Akarta is the Brahman
That he
person,
identifies himself.
right?
Right.
Supposing you are doing something, you're getting confused in the idea that jnani body does not do karma. Jnani's body does karma. He has no option. But the jnani's understanding is that nobody is different from him. See, that's a basic idea. As a jnani and ajnani, what is the difference? The difference is that both have the bodies, but one's actions are driven for, self-fulfillment, for his own pleasures and pains to be. He wants to get pleasures, he wants to alleviate pains. That is the ajnani. Jnani's actions are driven by what? Loka sangaram evapi. Krishna himself says that. And a person who is acting for loka sangraham, why would he do a bad karma? He's not capable of. It's not that he want to do. He's not capable of. Because remember, any choice is made by free will. The Jnani's free will is aligned with that of Ishvara because he is no longer an individual. That is the way to understand.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we look at the next verse, which is verse number 24. ध्यानेनात्मनि पश्यन्ति
ध्यानेनात्मनि
ध्यानेनात्मनि
पश्यन्ति
पश्यन्ति
केचित् आत्मानमात्मना
केचिदात्मनात्मना
केचिदात्मनात्मना
अन्ये साङ्ख्येन योगेन
अन्ये
अन्ये
साङ्ख्येन
साङ्ख्येन
योगेन
योगेन
कर्मयोगेन चापरे.
कर्मयोगेन
कर्मयोगेन
च
चापरे.
So look at the words. You break up dhyanena atmani pashyati and kechid atmanam mana. Do not break up to the first line. Okay. And you rearrange the words. Kechid atmanam pashyanti. Kechid, some people, some sadhaka, some seekers, atmanam pashyanti. They want to understand the atma. Pashyanti is not see literally, but understand. And where? Atmani. So kechit atmanam atmani pashyanti. They want to see the atman in the atma, in the mind, atmani. So the first one is atman. Atmanam. So it's a very confusing line because the different atmas mean different things. Okay. So kechit atmanam pashyanti. Some people want to see the atma. Atmani. Here Atma is the mind. The second Atma is the mind. In the mind, Atmana, with the mind, Dhyanena, in meditation. So that the first Atmanam is Satchit Ananda Atma. The second Atma, Atmani and Atmana is the mind. Therefore, Kechid Atmanam Pashyanti Atmani Atmana Dhyanena. Some people want to see the Atma in the mind, with the mind, in meditation. Okay, so then second one is Anye Sankhena. So here you have to again look at the first one. Kechit Pashyanti Atmanam Anye Sankhena. Some people want to seek the Atma through Sankhya Yoga. Here Sankhya Yoga is Jnana Yoga. And Yogena Apare Karma Yogena. Some people, others, Apare, others, Yogena, they seek to see through Karma Yoga, Karma Yogena. So in English, some people perceive the Atma in the mind, with the mind, in the meditation process. Some other people perceive the Atma through Jnana Yoga. Some other people perceive the Atma through Karma Yoga. Okay, now remember that Krishna has completed all the topics. So he's summarizing here. He summarized, and therefore these verses deal with Jnana Sadhanani and Jnana Phalam. Various types of sadhana for Jnana and Jnana Phalam itself. Kechit Atmanam Pashyanti Dhyanena. Some people want to see the Atma through meditation. The moment you say Dhyanam, people have different ideas about Dhyana. Some people think of, sitting with eyes closed. Some people think of visualizing various things. Some people think of meditating on the teachings, all those. So here, Shankara is wanting to dispel that idea. He wants to give a clear idea of what is meditation. So in his commentary, he writes what is meditation. He clearly defines dhyana. How does it define? Shotradini Karanani Upasamhritya, he says. You can understand? Karanani Upasamhritya. Withdrawing the indriyas, withdrawing the karanam, like Shrotradini, like the ears, etc. So Shrotradini Karanani Upasamritya, withdrawing the Indriyas like the ears, etc., which means all the Indriyas you withdraw. And where do you withdraw it from? Shabdadibhya Vishebhya. From all the objects like Shabda, Sparsha, Rasa, all that withdraw. So first is you withdraw the Indriyas. Second part of definition is you withdraw it from the objects of the Indriyas. Third part is Manasi Upasamritya. Withdraw the Indriyas into the mind. So that is the first definition. Withdraw the sense organs from the sense objects and withdraw them into the mind. That is the first part of the definition. So first part is Shotradini Karanani Upasamritya Shabdadibhyo Vishebhya Manasi Upasamritya. Okay. Then he gives a further definition. Manascha Pratyak Chetayitari. Turn the mind, Manasaha, Pratyak Chetahi. Chetayata means the consciousness, Chaitanyam. Pratyak means inner. Therefore, turn the mind towards the inner consciousness. Manascha Pratyak Chetayitari. Turn the mind into the inner consciousness. Ekagrataya, with one pointedness. And if you have done that, yat chintanam, this contemplation, that dhyanam is called dhyanam. Very beautiful definition. I'll repeat. Shotradini karanani upasamritya shabdadibhyo vishebhya manasi upasamritya. Withdrawing the sense organs like the ears, etc., from all the objects of the sense organs like shabda, etc., and withdrawing them into the mind is the first part. And then you have to turn the mind towards the inner consciousness with one pointedness. This kind of contemplation is called dhyana. Why does he give this very elaborate definition? He himself says, yeah, because Shastra uses the word dhyanam to mean motionlessness also. He gives examples also, Dhyayativa Prithvi, like the earth which is motionless. Dhyayantiva Parvataha, like the mountains which are motionless. And you have seen this idea elsewhere. Yatha Dipo Nivasastaha Dengate Sopamasprata Yoginam Yatachittasya Yunjato Yogamatmanaha. Which chapter? The yogi's mind
Chapter
compared.
6, I think.
Chapter 6. Yatha Dipo Nivatastaha. As the flame is motionless. That is example being given for a yogi's mind which is motionless. So dhyanam is used for motionlessness also. And therefore Shankara says it should be used to mean the process of withdrawing your sense organs from the sense objects, resolving those sense organs into the mind, and further turning the mind inwards towards the consciousness principle. And Shankara expands further. He says, Avichinna pratyaya dhyana. Avichinna pratyaya means what? Unbroken flow of thoughts. Unbroken flow of thoughts is dhyana. Avichinna pratyaya dhyana. The unbroken flow of thoughts, as explained earlier, by withdrawing the sense organs into the mind and then turning the mind towards the consciousness principle, thoughts only about the consciousness principle. So unbroken flow of thoughts about Atma, he had one more adjective, Taila Dharavat, like the flow of oil. That is called Dhyana. Do you recall any other text we have done which gives the same definition?
Gita Dhyanam.
Sorry?
That shlok in Gita Dhyanam, Taila Purna.
No, I think it is in Atma Bodha.
Atma Bodha. Atma Bodha.
Do you remember verse says Ajyadharaya Srotasasam Arulachintanam Viralatah Param?
Go.
Where is that?
Bhaj Govinda. Bhaj.
Raman Maharshi.
Upadesha Saram.
Upadesha Saram.
You are soaked so much that you've forgotten the soaking. Where you are soaking from? Anyway, so Sarala Chintanam says Ramana Maharishi, meditation with no breaks in thought is better than Virlata Param, where thoughts are broken. And he gives two examples. Ajya Dharaya, like the flow of Ajya, flow of ghee, or Srotasa Samam, like the flow of a river. And you have to add here what is not mentioned here. All the thoughts, because you are turning the mind towards the Atma, all the thoughts are about Atma only. You cannot have anatma thoughts in meditation. Okay. So, Kechit Atmanam Pashyanti. Some people see the Atma, Atmani in the mind. You can take it as the heart, which is the Golakam. Atmana. So, the first is Atmanam is the Atma. Atmani is in the mind, or you can take it as the Golakam of the mind, which is the Hridayam. I hope you know that, right? The Golakam of the mind is Hridayam. And Atmana with the Buddhi. All three have different versions, different meanings, which is what is said here. Every knowledge is acquired only through the instrument of the intellect, of the buddhi. And therefore, Shankara in his commentary uses the expression dhyana samskritena antakaranena. Antakaranam is you are taken as a refined mind supported by a refined buddhi. Dhyana samskritena supported by Guru Shastra Upadesha. Okay, you have understood, I hope. Any questions? This particular, discussion on meditation is very useful to remember. It clarifies the idea about meditation, Vedantic meditation, what it actually is. Okay, now this is a Shankara Bhasham class, right? It's an advanced class. So at this point, let me take the opportunity to talk about other sampradayas, other views. So there is a great Acharya called Prakash Atma Yati. Okay, Yati is not that Himalayan Yati. Okay. Yati is just the name for Acharya. So Prakash Atma Yati. He has a sampradaya called Vivarana Sampradaya. So you may not have heard of him, but there is another Acharya called Vachaspati Mishra. Has anybody heard of him? Heard of him? No.
Yes.
Yes. Please go ahead.
No, I've just heard the name and little story about him.
Okay, so Vachaspati Mishra is the author of another sampradaya called Bhamati Sampradaya. So there are two main sampradayas. Vivarana Sampradaya, attributed to Prakash Atma Yati. Bhamati Sampradaya, attributed to Vachaspati Mishra. Okay. Remember that both are Advaitins. Both Prakash Atma Yati and Vachaspati Mishra. That means both the Vivarana Sampradaya and the Bhamati Sampradaya are essentially Advaitic Sampradayas. And therefore, both accept that for Jnanam, you need mind as well as Shastra. That is to say, when you say for Jnanam, you need mind as well as Shastram, you are saying that Mahavakya Pramanam is necessary. That is the Shastram. And Sadhana Sampatti Chatushtaya Sampatti, mind is necessary. Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti, mind is compulsory. You have to be an Adhikari. And not only that, Adhikari has to study Mahavakyam. Only a combination of the Mahavakyam and the qualified Adhikari, that alone results in Jnana. Both accept this. What is the difference? There is a very subtle difference. Bhamati Sampradaya postulates that it is the mind which generates knowledge. Shastra is only a supporting factor. Okay, Bhamati Sampradaya says Shastra only supports, but it is a mind in which knowledge is generated. Vivarana Sampradaya says Shastra alone generates knowledge, but the generation of that knowledge needs the support of the mind. A very subtle difference. One says Shastra supports, mind generates. One says Shastra generates, mind supports. What is the Vedantic view? Who do you agree with?
Shastra gives and mind supports.
Shastra generates and mind supports. It is the Vivarana Sampradaya. So we agree with Vivarana Sampradaya. It is like saying that if you got a headache, then you need two things to get rid of the headache. What is that?
Medicine and rest.
Not medicine and rest. You need the Saridon or the medicine, and you need the stomach capable of absorbing the medicine. You need a functioning stomach. Both are important. And Bhamati Sampradaya says that it is the stomach which cures the headache. The crocin or the Saridon is only a supporting factor. Vivarana Sampradaya says it is the Saridon or crocin which cures the headache. The stomach merely supports by absorbing the medicine. And the logic is that the stomach can absorb many other things also. So anything that stomach absorbs doesn't cure a headache. The headache is cured only when stomach absorbs the medicine. Right? And therefore, we agree with Vivarana Sampradaya. So in Vedantic terms, we can reword this whole discussion to say that the mind is samanya karanam for knowledge. Shastra is vishesha karanam for Atma Jnana. What is the difference? Mind is samanya karanam for any knowledge. It can be Atma Jnanam, it can be physics Jnanam, it can be biology Jnanam, it can be chemistry Jnanam. But Shastra is vishesha karanam for Atma Jnana. I hope you understand.
So, Acharya, can I ask a question?
Please.
So, like a Purva Pakshi. First, when Shastra came through someone's mind,
No.
like as we say, the rishis were
No.
tuned into.
Maybe.
Oh.
But Shastra origin is not somewhat mind. Shastra origin is what?
Huh?
Tell me.
That is what I'm asking. What is the Shastra's origin?
Paurusheya.
Aparushi.
Not Brahmaji.
Ishwar.
Okay. So it is apaurusheya vastu. You cannot say Shastra is from a human mind. If Shastra is from human mind, the whole things, your entire study is, invalidated. Okay. So much we talked about because what produces jnanam? Is it dhyanam or is it the Shastra? That is what was talked about. Other line says, Anye Sankhena Pashyanti. Other people get ajnanam through Sankhya. Now, this Sankhya is the Vedantic Sankhya, which is Jnana, Atma Jnanam. It's not to be confused with the Sankhya Darshanam of Kapila Muni. Okay, so Anye Sankhena Pashyanti. Sankhya here means Atma Jnanam. Remember that both Kapila Sankhya and Vedantic Sankhya, they are different. Both say, however, Atma and Anatma are different. The big difference is that Kapila Muni says that Atma and Anatma both are Satyam. Therefore, Kapila Muni is Dvaita Darshanam. Vedanta says that Atma and Anatma are different, but one is Satyam and one is Mithya. Right? That's very important to understand. So here Shankara gives a definition. He says these three gunas, he talks about Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Right? He says these three gunas of the mind are available in the mind as various thoughts. What are they? Sattva guna is available as what kind of thought?
Creative.
So we say sukha vritti. Okay, as thoughts which give you pleasure. Rajas is available as dukkha vritti, thoughts which give you sorrow. And tamas is available as moha vritti. Shankara says all these three thoughts which are experienced by me. And who is this me? Aham tebhya anyah. So he says all the three gunas which are experienced in this mind as thoughts are experienced by me who is different from those thoughts. And he says, I am the witness of all the activities of this mind, but I am nitya guna vilakshanaha. I am eternal, free from all the gunas. And Atma, I am that Atma. Iti chintanam. This kind of contemplation is called Sankhya. He is defining Sankhya, right? I just said Kapila Sankhya and Vedantic Sankhya are different. What is Vedantic Sankhya? He is defining. He says this Vedantic Sankhya, this knowledge, is the knowledge that I am the witness of the entire Anatma. At the same time, I am free from the gunas of the Anatma. This kind of thinking is called Sankhya. That is the second definition of Sankhya. And then there is a third group of people who say, Apare karma yogena pashyanti. Here also Shankara gives a very, very potent definition. He says, what is karma yoga? He says karma yoga is the performing of a act using free will with Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. Very beautiful definition of karma yoga. So he actually uses the word Ishvara Arpana Buddhya Anushtiyamanam Katana Rupam Yogarthatvat. Ghatanam means it's an act of free will. Right? What is the difference between free will and natural activity? Let us take an example of breathing and pranayama. Which is free will and which is natural?
Pranayama is free
Pranayama,
will.
free will. Breathing is
Pranayama
natural.
is use of your free will. Breathing does not require free will. Right? So he says karma yoga requires free will. It requires an action using your free will, specifically dedicating all the actions to Ishvara. So Ishvara Arpana Buddhi is also required. And therefore we should recall the 9th chapter. Yat karoshi dashnasi, yat johoshi dadasi yat, yat tapasyasi kaunteya, tat kurushva padarpana. Remember that without that free will, karma yoga is impossible. And because he says Ishvara Arpanam, karma yoga is not possible without Ishvara Arpanam, without faith in Ishvara. And therefore, the idea of secular karma yoga, not having an Ishvara, it's a very popular thing today, Ethical actions need not have the Lord in mind. A lot of people, they do actions for the good of others. That is not karma yoga. If Ishvara is not centric to that action, if the dedication of your actions to Ishvara is not there, you may be the most, nice person on earth, doing good to others. But that is not karma yoga. And therefore, in our sampradaya, in Vaidika sampradaya, there is no atheistic spirituality. Right? Atheistic spirituality is there in one darshanam. What is that darshanam called?
Charvak.
No. Charvaka doesn't accept the Lord at all.
Sankhya.
No. Buddhism. Buddhism is very spiritual, but it rejects the Lord. It rejects Veda also. Right? Anyway, so both karma yoga and spirituality require acceptance of Ishvara as Jagatkara. Note that When you say yoga, normally, what is the definition which comes? Chitta vritti nirodha. You know, what is chitta vritti nirodha? Any yoga normally means this particular definition, chitta vritti nirodha. And actually speaking, if you look at the phrase, yoga chitta vritti nirodha, there are two things, yoga and karma. Now, karma requires what? The six karakas, the factors of action. Karta, karma, karanam, sampradanam, apadanam, all this it requires. I'm not explaining. I hope you guys know. Right? No karma can be done without the factors of action. Therefore, the word karma yoga it's an oxymoron. It's a contradiction in terms. Yoga is concentration of mind, right? Chitta vritti nirodha, focused mind. At the same time, you know, karma requires what? The factors of action, which means non-focus of mind. Therefore, you cannot combine karma and yoga. That is the objection raised by somebody. And Shankara says, you cannot take that objection because what is the objective of this karma? It is to focus the mind on Ishvara. Therefore, even though you are using the karta, karma, karanam, sampradhanam, apadanam, karakas, you are using it for what purpose? To focus the mind of your mind on Ishvara. What is focus called? Yoga. Therefore, karma yoga is not a contradiction in terms. Okay. All very academic discussions, but useful because you can always get confused about this. Now, there is one problem here. Shankara has said that you can use any method to get Atmajnana. We have discussed 2, 3 methods, right? And Shankara says any method can be used. But it can cause confusion. So remember that if you are using Jnana Yoga, it depends on what kind of adhikari you are. Therefore, there is adhikari bhedaha in the usage of all these 3 methods to get jnana. Uttama adhikari will use jnana yoga. A madhyama adhikari will use upasana yoga for what purpose? To become qualified, to become a qualified uttama adhikari, and then he will use jnana yoga. A mandha adhikari will use karma yoga to get chitta shuddhi, use upasana yoga to get chitta ekagrata, and then use jnana yoga to become a jnani. Now, to summarize, the entire journey is in 5 stages. Karma yoga. Karma yoga gets rid of what? Raga, Tvesha, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, etc. etc. So, Mana Nivrittihi, ridding yourself of the various impurities is the aim of Karma yoga. Upasana yoga is Vikshepa Nivrittihi, to bring your mind to focus. And Jnanam, Vedanta Shravanam, is Ajnana Nivrittihi. And Mananam is Samshaya Nivrittihi. The difference between Shravanam and Mananam. Shravanam gives you Ajnana Nivrittihi, freedom from Ajnanam. But you still have doubts, and therefore you come to Mananam. Mananam gives you freedom from doubts. Samshaya Nivrittihi. Whether you are convinced of the teaching given by the scriptures. And Nididhyasanam is post getting a doubtless conviction that you are Atman. Perfectly being convinced of the teaching, you still have some habitual reactions caused by vasana, viparita bhavana. And therefore, nididhyasanam is meant for eliminating viparita bhavana. These 5 stages are the entire journey. With this, I'll stop for today. Okay. Thank you for your patience. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat
Thank
Sat.
you,
Om Namah
Acharya ji.
Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Thank
Om
you.
Om.
Thank you.